Did you know that affluent gentlemen despise elegant ladies? And what do affluent gentlemen actually desire? Momasani, how do you do? I'm a former Miss Universe finalist, beauty queen, and a couturier, a certified image and color consultant, and certified etiquette consultant. So, what do affluent gentlemen actually desire in a lady? And why do they despise elegant ladies? See, when Arnabe said affluent gentlemen prefer elegant ladies, she was only telling half the truth. Affluent gentlemen say they prefer an elegant lady, but what they call elegant, in my experience, is what TikTok ladies and YouTube ladies will call vulgar, right? So what is attractive to gentlemen is not the same as to ladies. There is ladle, boy hot, and girl hot, right? They're not the same thing at all. There's even, man hot, boy hot, girl hot, lady hot, etc. So the way gentlemen perceive something is attractive is not necessarily the same, and also straight and gay are rather different. With gentlemen you have the K strategist or the legacy strategist, and then you have the player, or technically called R strategist. So the player wants something rather different, right? And he could be affluent, but he wants to know how easy you are. And he pumps and dumps. Obviously, we should not cater to that, because there is nothing that benefits women from this look of someone who wants something low maintenance, low investment. Although we can know what you shouldn't wear from this. So the pump and dump, duck boy with an F, what does he want? So he wants cheap and easy, right? So your clothes should be as low maintenance as possible and showing how easy you are to access, right? So the the neon Shein tight mini dress, right? Extra high heels, with long cleavage and, spandex, all this stuff, right? To show you are easy to access. Well, if you want a one-night stand, clothing is language, and that's how you speak. One-night stand in clothing. Of course, most of us, we want to be loved, we want to be respected, we want to be treasured, so we dress differently. Grace Harper has a book, and that is The 7 Rules of Dating Rich Men. Now, it's not all accurate, but with clothing, she's quite right. She says she noticed the ladies who are too elegant blend with the wall. Even Ginny Sale's husband wrote this in response to me and said I was correct. And he said that, it's a problem these days that so many ladies think they're elegant wearing beige, but most walls, he pointed out, are beige. And if you blend in with the wall, gentlemen don't notice you and don't see you as a prize, right? So what is the prize? It's the circus clown. Let me elaborate further, because it's not every circus clown, right? Because they work so hard to earn the money to get the dream girl. They don't want basic Betty. They want the lady that stands out, okay? And stands out, of course, in a good way to gentlemen, but that might mean in a terrible way to ladies. You may be made fun of by other ladies. Most probably you will be, right? Because you just stand out and they're saying, why is she so dressed up? She's always in costume. And that's how you get noticed. Oh, look at her makeup. She's Cleopatra. Who does she think she is? Oh, she's wearing all those florals. She must be a granny, and so on and so forth. All those bright colors. Who does she think she is? The circus or the clown, right? And why is her hair done all the time? Is she going to a wedding? No, I'm going out there to celebrate life. Why is she dressed so expensive? The economy is in a recession. Oh, her shoes. They look so uncomfortable. They must hurt. You would think that affluent gentlemen would like elegant women. But what affluent gentlemen view as elegant is completely different from what ladies view as elegant. So they will of course say they want an elegant lady, but in a way that gentlemen think is elegant. And usually ladies think that is extraordinarily inelegant, right? So what do gentlemen think is elegant? It's the circus clown. According to ladies, right? What do ladies think is elegant? It's the basic biatch. The basic witch with a B, so to say, right? That's what gentlemen call what ladies think is elegant, right? So if you have lots of trends, right? So old money aesthetic, beige, blending with the wall, that sort of thing, that's elegant, clean girl makeup, minimalism. Gentlemen don't think it's elegant. They think it's basic and therefore low value. So if there are thousands of how to be elegant TikToks, you should do the opposite, okay? Why? Because it's basic. Okay, so why is it not considered elegant to affluent gentlemen, but is the definition of elegance to most ladies, right? If most ladies think something is elegant, affluent gentlemen think it's cheap. I'm serious, there's a cycle like that. So why? Well, remember my old video? Be the Birkin? Well, Chinese did an expose, and this has come earlier from actual news sources like Wall Street Journal, that brands like LVMH, right, and Dior, also Armani, do make their things mostly in China, in sweatshops, and then they have illegal factories in Italy where they stamp the Made in Italy label. There's an excellent book called Deluxe on the death of luxury, and they talked about how Valentino started making a profit by making their suits in Cairo at 88 cents an hour, as opposed to Italian tailoring where at the time the minimum wage was $17 an hour. So they were saving money, right? And only to certain countries would they have most of the product made in Italy. But to most countries, they would simply switch the label from made in Egypt to made in Italy. That's why most luxury brands have lost their luster. But Hermès has not. Why? Most of their products are made in France. And most of the process is made in France. So there are rumors that, they may send their leather to be cut in China, but it's hand sewn in France, and that's what matters. And that's where the quality lies. And also, the leather is made in Europe, as in the quality, the finishings, and so on. Of course, crocodile alligator is not grown in Europe, right? My husband thinks poor crocodiles you try to plant them in Europe, but they don't grow. So why is the Hermès bag priced? Or why are diamonds priced? Even easier. Because diamonds are rare. That's why. Okay? And if it's easy to get something, right? I mean, crystal is beautiful, but it's everywhere, alright? That's why rhinestones and diamonds don't have the same value. If it's everywhere, then, it doesn't have the same value as something that's hard to get. With a Birkin, there's only so many of them made, so you do have to play the Hermès game to get one, or you buy on the secondary market, and it's twice the price. The value of luxury is that it's rare. And if something is everywhere, it becomes basic. And ladies have this instinct to want to be a pick-me and fit in. But the moment you fit in and dress in a way that's not offensive to other women because you dress like everyone else, you'll have the most female friends and the least success with high-value gentlemen. You would think that affluent gentlemen would like elegant women, but what affluent gentlemen view as elegant is completely different from what ladies view as elegant. So they will of course say they want an elegant lady, but in a way that gentlemen think is elegant. And usually ladies think that is extraordinarily inelegant, right? So what do gentlemen think is elegant? It's the circus clown. According to ladies, right? What do ladies think is elegant? It's the basic biatch. The basic witch with a B, so to say, right? That's what gentlemen call what ladies think is elegant, right? So if you have lots of trends, right? So old money aesthetic, beige, blending with the wall, that sort of thing, that's elegant, clean girl makeup, minimalism. Gentlemen don't think it's elegant. They think it's basic and therefore low value. So if there are thousands of how to be elegant TikToks, you should do the opposite, okay? Why? Because it's basic. Okay, so why is it not considered elegant to affluent gentlemen, but is the definition of elegance to most ladies, right? If most ladies think something is elegant, affluent gentlemen think it's cheap. I'm serious, there's a cycle like that. So why? Well, remember my old video? Be the Birkin? Well, Chinese did an expose, and this has come earlier from actual news sources like Wall Street Journal, that brands like LVMH, right, and Dior, also Armani, do make their things mostly in China, in sweatshops, and then they have illegal factories in Italy where they stamp the Made in Italy label. There's an excellent book called Deluxe on the death of luxury, and they talked about how Valentino started making a profit by making their suits in Cairo at 88 cents an hour, as opposed to Italian tailoring where at the time the minimum wage was $17 an hour. So they were saving money, right? And only to certain countries would they have most of the product made in Italy. But to most countries, they would simply switch the label from made in Egypt to made in Italy. That's why most luxury brands have lost their luster. But Hermès has not. Why? Most of their products are made in France. And most of the process is made in France. So there are rumors that, they may send their leather to be cut in China, but it's hand sewn in France, and that's what matters. And that's where the quality lies. And also, the leather is made in Europe, as in the quality, the finishings, and so on. Of course, crocodile alligator is not grown in Europe, right? My husband thinks poor crocodiles. You try to plant them in Europe, but they don't grow. So why is the Hermès bag priced? Or why are diamonds priced? Even easier. Because diamonds are rare. That's why. Okay? And if it's easy to get something, right? I mean, crystal is beautiful, but it's everywhere, right? That's why rhinestones and diamonds don't have the same value. If it's everywhere, then, it doesn't have the same value as something that's hard to get. With a Birkin, there's only so many of them made, So you do have to play the Hermès game to get one, or you buy on the secondary market and it's twice the price. The value of luxury is that it's rare. And if something is everywhere, it becomes basic. And ladies have this instinct to want to be a pick-me and fit in. But the moment you fit in and dress in a way that's not offensive to other women because you dress like everyone else, you'll have the most female friends and the least success with high-value gentlemen. So, what do elite gentlemen consider elegant? A glamorous lady. They consider glamour to be elegance. So, let's take elegant ladies according to gentlemen. If we view them according to what heterosexual females consider elegant, well, they're ratchet rubbish, right? They're shameless strumpets, right? Who hit us on the head with a trumpet. For example, let's talk about the disaster known as Melania Trump. How dare she? Ooh. You know, she walks around, that shameless hussy. You know, she walks around in her 50s with more smoky eyeshadow than I do, right? She does the full smoky eye during the day for interviews. She actually does this, you know. And she has very long hair. You know, at her age, it's elegant to chop off the hair and dress masculine and dress like a boy. And she wears dresses and she has her nails done. What a shameless trumpet. Oh, and this Melania, she's so shameless. She wears bright colors. She even wears feminine styles and florals. How dare she? How vulgar. And she even occasionally has a bit of Botox. Oh no. Right? She's not a natural beauty. And Melania Trump, the American First Lady, avoids the clean girl look like the plague. Oh my! What should we do? Us plain Janes, we have to clutch our necklaces now that we don't have pearls because we're too plain. We have to just clutch, you know, whatever we're wearing and say, tisk tisk, bad Melania, very, very bad. I'm outraged. They're not outraged at Melania because of her social status. But do you think she got Donald Trump wearing a clean girl look? No. She's very sultry, right? Smoky eyes. And that's how she got him. And he noticed her eyes. He initially wanted to be introduced to someone else, but he saw beautiful smoky eyes across the room and said, who is that? I have to know her. I have to get to know her. He wanted her number. And then she said, you know what? I will take your number, you know, but I'm not giving you mine. And she called him a week later. He was mesmerized by her vulgar, smoky eyes. And this makeup, what I'm wearing, is called Arabic makeup, and in the Middle East, this is normal. We embrace our femininity and we don't do elegance shaming because we're not idiots. We know that what gentlemen find elegant is called glamour. We already know this. We're not stupid, right? But in the West, people are. And they try to shame femininity at every given moment. It's not classy. There's just too many pick-me's in Western countries. So that's the problem. And the pick-me brigade. Oh, how dare a lady improve herself and be more attractive. Oh, no, right? And let's remember, shameless strumpet, number 2. Well, our lovely Princess Catherine. She's so shameless. You know, she wears eyeliner. You don't say. And you know, horror of horrors, like Melania, she wears very high heels. Oh my, right? And also, hold on to your seats. She wears bright colors, tailored clothing in bright colors. She wears dresses and frock coats in bright colors. Princess Catherine is a very, very shameless strumpet, if we are to believe the Elegantosaurus Rexes of TikTok. How dare you wear anything other than beige and neutrals and boring, and you must wear this clean girdle. You're not elegant, right? By the female definition, are Melania and Princess Catherine elegant? Not at all, right? But that is what gentlemen view as elegant. So I learned what Jeannie Sales teaches us, right? And I learned this through pageants. She learned this through beauty pageants, because you try different things and see what works, and the truth is the truth, and it triggers ladies, right? Because they would rather go after us for being successful rather than change their ways. That's why they hate. So what did Jeannie Sales, the authority on how to marry affluent gentlemen, say? She said that studies show boys are, as they grow up, they're attracted to their Playmobiles, right? They're attracted to movement and color. And as gentlemen grow older, they absolutely love this in ladies. So they love sparkle and color. And that, of course, is exactly what French chic finds vulgar, okay? So what gentlemen find elegant and beautiful: femininity, bright color, and sparkle. French chic is anti those three things, because it's this I'm better than you, I'm a pick-me who's not like the other girls style, right? So French chic is really the pick-me, I'm not like the other girls style, right? They call it the anti-bimbo style, but in my experience, it's the desperate loser style. It's trying so hard to be picked by being so, I'm not like the other girls, but then you dress like all the other girls. Everyone dresses like this. So the first time when all the ladies were wearing dresses and you wore pants, wow, that's interesting, that's new, that was high value back in the day, okay? So what Gabrielle Coco Chanel, what she wore, because she was the first person wearing that, of course it was the sexy of the day because it was new. See what I'm saying about high value? The moment you look like the other girls and they are, that's it. You're basic, you're cheap, you're low status. You need ladies to hate you for high value gentlemen to date you. That does not mean you should show up with no clothes, right? Because, then you lower your value in another way, right? You should get attention in a way that does not cheapen you, does not make you look easy. You should get attention to stand out without looking obvious that you're standing out. At the same time, you should also be feminine, right? And it also helps to have a refined palette that's easy on the eye, that shows that you know a little bit about art and art history. As you can see here, I know my color seasons as a stylist and color consultant. How many ladies do you see have my style? Right? The moment you will see copycats is the moment I change my style. My style is luxury, right? And luxury is custom. My style works for me. The moment you copy it, you look terrible. Some have said that Anna Bay tries to copy me and she will have an outfit that's similar or something similar, but it will be in my color season and look absolutely awful on her. Maybe she's trying to copy someone else, who knows? But whoever she's trying to copy is autumn color season sometimes, and she's a summer color season, and it absolutely doesn't work. See, when you're like the other girls, there is safety in numbers, you're much less likely to be bullied. But at the same time, the fact that you are not bullied is because you're not a threat and being precluded from the prize. So you have to prioritize with no gentlemen, and you're not being bullied, but you're not getting ahead, you're not reaching your goals, and you're not getting dates. But because you look like everyone else and you fit in, and the racial aspect is important and neurotypical is important. If you are a different race from everyone, or you're neurodiverse, you're still different and nothing can help you. If you're the white raven, you'll always be bullied anyway. So if you're in high school, there are not any provider high value dating prospects. You're not allowed to date them, right? And there would be something wrong with them if they date you, okay? So there, I would advise for you to dress low class or whatever rubbish you need to dress to fit in, right? Be basic, in school so you don't get bullied, okay? Dress like everyone else, or if you cannot stand the mainstream, find a group like goths or whatever, find some subculture that you can fit in, and therefore you won't be bullied because it's in numbers. As soon as you leave the prison known as high school and you become an adult, you can wear what you want, and you can make friends based on what you have in common, and those are the deepest friendships, right? So you no longer have to look like a loser, and you can be yourself. So what do I mean is that the circus clown is the high value lady? Well, I have experience with this, rather. My grandmother, you see, in World War II, for every 50 young men who went to the front lines, only one would return back alive in World War II. So the ratio was 50 to 1. Most were missing a leg, an arm, or something or other. And my grandmother met my grandfather, who had 2 arms and 2 legs, which is something special, In addition to this, he was affluent for the time, right? And my grandma's family was starving because they were former low nobility, and therefore, my great-grandfather was beheaded, etc. So they struggled quite a bit in the, communist Russia, and then communist Soviet Union, rather. And, with World War II, there was starvation, and after it, there were very few provisions, so those were difficult times. And there were gentlemen were few and far between. So it was harder to get a gentleman after World War II. It was harder to get a date than it is to win a beauty pageant, right? The Miss Universe competition is easier to win than getting a high-value gentleman in Russia or Ukraine after World War II, okay? So my grandmother survived and was one of those few winners, right? So that's like winning the hypergamy Olympics, right? My grandmother was an Olympic champion of hypergamy. So I'm half Arab and half Russian, and I'm also part Somali, part Ethiopian for my Arab heritage. So how did my grandmama land my grandfather? Well, her family were former minor nobility, and my great-grandmother so had to become a couturier, and I continue the tradition, but that's what she had to do to survive. After the revolution, the only skill she knew that was a viable, marketable skill to survive was how to sew. Therefore, she ended up sewing clothes. And she hid and saved all the French magazines. So she had all the beautiful looks from Paris. And after World War II, my great-grandmother had some magazines from Paris, and she created the most beautiful dresses for my grandmother. So as she sewed and did favors for different people, she got the best wool fabric from officers, so they would, exchange things here and there, so she had enough yards. And my grandmother, as the fashions changed in France, had the most beautiful French dress. And imagine a French haute couture dress among a sea of Chairman Mao suits, which were popular back in the day. Everyone else had the same outfit that they got from the communist store. My grandfather was set up on a blind date to meet a potential future wife and took the train from Moscow to meet her. And on the way, on the train station, he saw my grandmother and her beautiful Elizabeth Taylor eyes. And she was in a vision of a French couture dress that stood out from a crowd of boring people, all in the same grey Chairman Mao suits. She was the vision of femininity in high heels. My grandfather gasped at that vision that stood out like a goddess among humans, right? In her heels, in her dainty dress, in her dainty hair, and beautiful Elizabeth Taylor blue eyes. And he caught his breath and thought, "Be still, my beating heart." As catching his breath, he started to walk towards her, approached her, and said, "Mademoiselle, that looks much too heavy for you to carry. Let me carry it." And so he helped her with her bags. And within 2 months, they were married. Actually, she didn't even want to marry him so soon. She wanted a proper courtship, engaged in a year, and then after a second you have marriage. He was that woman. I'm marrying her before anyone else will. And he was an honest man. So he gave actually a gift to the marriage registry so that they don't refuse him, right? And so one day on a date, he said, "Oh, let's walk here." And then she was like, "Oh, that's where the wedding registry is." Like, "Yes, it's really fun. Let's look at people getting married." And they were there. He said, "Let's get married." And she thought, okay. He keeps insisting from the beginning that she is his future wife. So, and they lived happily ever after. And he died in his old age in her arms and told her, "Thank you for marrying me and for giving me a happy life." He said that her love was the meaning of his life. If you want more on Russian women's elite and dating, hypergamy, etc. secrets, please comment below, okay? And I may make a video in the future, if there is interest in this topic, of course. Notice what my grandmother did is what Jeannie Sales did, and what I learned at Miss Universe, that you stand out positively from the cloud and don't blend into the crowd. So one of my gentleman readers who wrote to me, and quite a few gentlemen follow my social media because I do speak to gentlemen as well, oddly enough, and they come across my channel and sometimes my other social media. And he said, when you're talking about fashion, please talk about those basic ladies. That when everyone copies the same thing, it stops being elegant. So he said, he was heartbroken about an ex from a while ago, but accepted it and, grew up and thought, what? I should level up, I should better myself, and then, maybe she'll accept me, maybe I was not enough, and that's why she dumped me, probably, he thought, And he worked hard, he leveled up. So years later, he looked up the lady who inspired him to level up. And he said, he was in shock. She was wearing the same, basic Zara outfit. He said, Zara is a cardinal sin. It can never be elegant because there are always 20 or 30 ladies wearing the same outfit. And she just had everything stereotypical, like it was a starter pack. So he looked through her friends' Instagrams and they all looked the same. They even had the same balayage in their hair. They all looked the same. And they all like matcha. They all go to the same Pilates, all wearing aloe. How does the song go? Aloe, Pilates, matcha. As my reader said, that the lady who broke his heart as a young gentleman and inspired him to level up. She thinks she is elegant and all that, but he said she's hideous, and he thought, he is so lucky that he leveled up, because he would never ever date that. And he remembers in university she was this quirky, funny art student, and he liked her original personality. At least she was like that in freshman year, and then, she dumped him. And he lost touch, and a few years later, so she graduated, started working, and then he started lurking again. Now that his career has gone the next level and he's capable of being a provider. So he thought that, now he built himself, now he's enough, now he's high value, he will go back and get his girl. Well, he's like, I didn't want her anymore. He said, I worked so hard, so many years, so that I'd be worthy to get her back. And I'm glad that I leveled up. But, the mistake was for that girl. I was in love with that quirky art student who fought me in class at Introduction to Philosophy. I didn't want Lululemon, Pilates, matcha. He said even worse, okay, when they're not wearing their aloe or Lululemon, with their matcha, going to Pilates, then they all wear the same old money aesthetic TikTok Zara outfits to cosplay old money. But it's the same outfit everyone buys from Zara that falls apart rather too quickly. The problem with Zara, unlike Shein, is that 30, 40 ladies will buy the same outfit in the town, thus whatever you buy in Zara is quickly rendered basic. If you want me to do a video on why Zara can never be a brand you wear, if you want to attract a high value gentleman, you can wear. Some ladies even manage to get someone with Shein, but usually it's Shein, she out, it's okay, winning the lottery. But Zara is an absolute no-no. In no case should you wear Zara, because the same gentleman would have seen 30 other ladies in that same outfit, some of whom are not behaving as elegantly as you. So my gentleman reader said that they all had the same clean girl aesthetic. He knew that they all watched the same TikToks, and he could even source which TikToks he watched. And he said they also watch Anna Bay because he, when you notice the Zara and then you Google Zara, old money, dress expensive, right? When you can tell what TikToks a lady and her friends all watch based on their outfits, it's no longer expensive. It's pick me and desperate to fit in. Therefore, you're no longer high value because you're like everyone else. So he said, she's like when you play video games, there's this NPC or non-playable character. So, when you have a gun in the video games, right? It's so dehumanizing. Don't dehumanize yourself. Develop your own individual personal style. Be brave and brave the hate from ladies who are too scared to be authentic and therefore are jealous of you. Wear what suits you. Don't be afraid to be original, because bravery and courage is where the greatest things in life lie. Life begins where fear ends. So it's a tough choice. If you dress like all the ladies and are boring, no one will bully you because you're not a threat. Now, the moment you start attracting male attention by breaking the rules, that is when you'll get a lot of hate. But then you'll get all the results, right? So, as an image consultant, I don't believe one size fits all. So, I teach dressing for your go. If you are new in an office, I don't suggest to dress to attract attention, right? Rather, I would suggest to dress boring to fit in, right? Until you're a boss or in a place of privilege and have power, then you can start power dressing. Don't outshine the master, don't outshine the colleagues. The more beige and blend in with the wall, the better, right? Don't attract attention to yourself in an office setting because of the power dynamics. Now, if you're giving a presentation at a conference, then give them something to look at. Do be like Queen Elizabeth, who wore bright colors so people could see the Queen and enjoy her presence. Your presence is a present. On a date, do the opposite of dressing for the office. See, in the office, you want your work to speak for you, but not so loudly that everyone is jealous of you and trying to destroy you. Like, why create unnecessary conflict by dressing so much better than everyone else, right? I mean, you can dress, you can have your hair and makeup be cute and wear clothes that are respectable, high quality, but don't intimidate others, right? It depends where you work. So if you're in an environment that's highly supportive and let's say you're mainly in a male law firm and gentlemen have excellent tailored suits, you can also have an elegant tailored suit. If you're in a catty environment, then dress, more low profile. Again, so when I do image consulting, I ask my clients about the need, the environment. I sit down and I really get to know their goals, where they work, for example. And that's so different than if they want to, let's say they present at a conference, that's different, where they want to be noticed or on a date or, And dates especially, you dress the opposite quite often than you would in the office, because in the office you want your work to speak for you. But when you are dating, you want the attention to be on you. You are the prize, not your typing, right? So you want the attention to be on you. You want to be noticed that you're beautiful. Therefore, you're going to be different. You're going to make women who are lazy or women who are afraid of taking risk uncomfortable. They will bully you. Now, if you really dress like an actual circus clown and gentlemen think your outfit is tacky and pathetic, these women will cheer and clap. Oh, that's so unusual. Oh, you're so creative, right? But if gentlemen like your different circus clown outfit, that strumpet. She dresses like a circus clown. I am clutching my crumpet. You see, right? So, if a lady is effectively dressing differently and getting the attention of gentlemen because she's the prize, that gets envy. The most beautiful is the most envied. Just look at Mylena, right? And she's the most hated, right? So dress what is effective that makes you the most beautiful, and not what females call elegant. Because most of the time, gentlemen will call it basic or granny or boring. Where Anabe is correct is to dress sexually modest. Look at Arab and Muslim ladies. Because we have to dress modestly, we compensate by a lot of eye makeup, bright color, sparkle, so we break Western elegance rules because we have to show more interest in a more modest outfit. Princess Catherine does the same. Because her outfits are modest yet tailored, she has to add bright color. She'll also often do smoky eye, or different types of makeup. She never wears the clean girl look because she knows it's boring. Unless you're Kim Kardashian, then I recommend this look for her because she's half naked. So if she's half naked and in a bright color and then smoky eye, it just looks so trashy. So she makes it look less vulgar by toning down the makeup and the color because she's nearly naked in cheap spandex. So she prevents it looking like tacky, Fashion Nova, right? So she looks priced higher than Fashion Nova, right? By compensating for being half naked with boring beige, clothing and clean girl look, right? And the reverse is true of Muslim ladies, Princess Catherine, etc. If you look at Arab ladies as well, look at Haifa Wahbi. So if you look at Lebanese celebrities, you'll notice that they're not afraid to have a lot of eye makeup, right? But if you have eye makeup, then don't, with a smoky eye, then have a red lip, right? Pick something to highlight. So glamorous women do follow a set of elegance rules, but it's gentlemen's elegance rules, right? For example, don't wear too many colors. So if you are wearing, for example, I have this pattern, right? Notice I don't wear other colors not in the pattern. I wear something matching here, and my nails match as well. When I'm wearing this, I will either wear, in this color, something matching, and a jacket, and then my accessories, handbags, and shoes will match, or everything will all match in turquoise. And if I don't have a pattern, I only wear two colors together. Sometimes there is a possibility of having three that are matching very close to each other, like green, blue, and kind of a violet blue when they're close together. I had a dress with all those colors as one dress, and then my shoes and handbag would match my dress. So for gentlemen, it's extremely important when you're wearing color to wear your color season, and that, according to gentlemen, makes it look expensive. So when you're wearing something popular, but it's not close to your color season, gentlemen will point it out and say, that looks tacky, and they would know why. So my husband is trained, so he'll immediately say, wrong color season. He'll sit and point out, wrong color season. I said, yeah. So he even has an idea of some of the color seasons. It's so funny, it's cute, but he's a darling. But gentlemen who, are not in fashion, just straight, there is something wrong with that. She's dressed wrong, they'll tell me. And I say, yes, how do you know? And what do you think is wrong? And they'll say, it's the color. Wrong color. Or they'll say the pattern is wrong, and I will know the pattern is wrong for their proportion. Or so the other thing is to dress for your body type. When you do that wrong, gentlemen know. They don't know what that is. They know you're making a fashion mistake, but straight gentlemen are not gay, so they don't know which fashion mistake you are making. But they know you have not gone to a stylist and therefore look cheap. So how do we dress sexually modestly without being boring and granny? How would you know? Well, Princess Catherine has the style that screams wife. So you want to have clothing that's tight enough to show that you're a beautiful woman and loose enough to show that you are a lady, as the stylist of Princess Grace has said. Notice Princess Catherine's and Melania's tailoring. Their clothes are tailored close to their body. So is the dress I'm wearing. So I hope my dress is an illustration for you about getting your clothes tailored, having fewer clothes but tailored impeccably, right? That's why my dress might be modest, but as you can see, it's tight on my waistline, right? And it's long, it's below the knee, slightly below the knee, and it's a pencil dress, so it's a bit flowy below, but it's sewn very close to my waist, so there's actually only a finger between, my waist, between my clothes and me. So it's not the same as lycra, but with darts. And sometimes you can have princess seams, but you have the clothing sewn very close to your body. Gentlemen overestimate sexual interest and ladies underestimate it. So, the style that's sexy, classy, you might think is boring. However, it is very interesting, right? So the sexy, classy style, you have clothing that there's a certain point of interest, right? That's sewn close to the body using darts and fabric instead of lycra. My dress is tight on my waistline, but it's loose in the skirt area. It hints that I do have a beautiful figure, but you don't know the details. You know that I'm slim, but you don't know the particular contours or shape of my body. The rest is a mystery. So my clothing has the look of a wife, right? Of a fashion model turned first lady look that affluent gentlemen find so attractive, the Melania look. So I'm respectable and yet classy sexy. If you're new to fashion and cannot afford a stylist like myself, my rates are fairly reasonable. But let's say you're a student, what do? I do recommend wearing solid color that people compliment you on until you know what suits you. In terms of patterns, which ones are affluent, which ones are not. Also, some patterns are affluent like Missione, but affluent gentlemen find them hideous because they're not feminine. So when dressing glamorous, what do we mean? Think old Hollywood, but modernize it and make it you, right? Those actresses on the screen created desire, right? Hollywood, old Hollywood, was the factory of dreams and desire. And they built this to promote their movies. Now you are the new Hollywood. You are the new old Hollywood. And you make your own dream factory of desire. I would look at old Hollywood to understand glamour, and yet I would look at glamorous modern women. For example, Russian jet set ladies, okay, we know those, Melania, Princess Catherine, Arab ladies, and in South Korea, Japan, they're different countries, some Latinas. There are lots of this modern, what do modern ladies who get to the top? What do they wear who are glamorous, right? Of course, pageants, Miss Universe winners, right? And you should come up with your own style. So the idea is to dress like a goddess. There's a new brand coming up, Diva Thea. This is amazing, inspired by goddesses, and it's so elegant with affluent patterns, just on point with an innovative story about each different goddess, and it embodies feminine energy in every stitch, so it's amazing. But so that will be coming up, and super excited as this brand develops. So that's just such a wonderful gift for you ladies, because then you just buy that. It's very simple. Instead of wondering, what should I wear, this or that, just buy Diva Thea, and anything there will work for you. Of course, I recommend staying away from pantsuits. Other than that, there's just so much choice. Just think of Botticelli's Venice, that you're a goddess emerging from the water, right? So high value or affluent gentlemen, they want a goddess among women, that when they invite her, other gentlemen will think, ooh, look at that. So they want a goddess, someone that's wow, right? And brands like Victoria's Secret, Miss Universe, understood that, right? So you have to have that glamorous edge, and you bring old Hollywood meets Victoria's Secret modern glamour. Melania, if we look at it, is just that. She has a bit of Jackie Kennedy and a bit of Victoria's Secret combined together, right? But you have to create your own version, because the moment you copy Melania, you are the cheap Shein imitation. You have to develop your own style and go through your own style journey and go through your own inspirations of what you find glamorous that suits you. What is it that sparks joy? So, finally, what gentlemen call elegant, yes, they mean that you're dressing like a wife and not the town bicycle everyone rode on. So part of what gentlemen call elegance is dressing a bit modestly, as I said earlier, but not so boring. So you spice it up by making what TikTok would call an elegance mistake, right? add some spark, or add some color, or add a smoky eye. Do something to create excitement about an outfit, because you're not allowed to, wear miniskirt and cleavage and flash it all out. You can say, well, but Lauren Sanchez dresses like the town bicycle. But see, Lauren Sanchez is still high value, but not in the way you think. So she was a helicopter pilot, she was a Fox News anchor back at the time when everyone was a Democrat, so she was trouble, she was exciting, and of course Jeff Bezos had so much respect for her career, for her daring, and for her outward femininity. She was not afraid to be feminine, outspoken, etc. So gentlemen marry ladies they respect, and Jeff Bezos found a lot in Lauren Sanchez's character and career that stood out from all the other women, remember, standing out, that he respected, which is why he's with her. But these nuanced exceptions, they don't make the rule not exist, right? Exceptions don't break the rule. There is no second chance for first impression. So the first time he sees you, you shouldn't dress appropriately for the place. You should dress for the job you want to have. So the first time he sees you, you should dress as a pampered wife, as someone who will make him proud at corporate events, even if you're only going for a cappuccino. Dress like you want to be invited for dinner with his parents, and prior to that, you went to a corporate cocktail and he showed you off. See how my outfit is perfect for that? It's not that gentlemen have no rules in glamour. That's not how it is. They just have their own rules that ladies might find appalling, but they have their rules. And when you watch old Hollywood videos, you can recognize these rules. So one of these rules is embody and don't try too hard. Marilyn Monroe said that she doesn't wear frills or dresses with lots of flowers, or she's already feminine. She does not need to try too hard to be feminine. Another way of not trying too hard is you will see some ladies, they feel bad about, being broke, and so they'll cover themselves head to toe with loud brands. That's trying too hard. Gentlemen don't find that elegant. Another thing is ladies will see that everyone on the internet and their dog somehow has a designer bag, right? They don't realize most of these ladies on Instagram are escorts, so they'll try to get a designer bag. And the book Deluxe says that Japanese girls will sell themselves as a lady of the night to get this bag. Some young Japanese ladies, because they were just desperate to have this bag to try to fit in. And they thought that makes them more affluent. Well, the fact that you sold your body as a young 23-year-old so that you can have a Chanel bag is not elegant at all. That's why having a $10,000, $13,000 designer handbag as a 23-year-old is considered vulgar by gentlemen. When you're an older female executive or you're married, it makes sense that you're wearing it commensurate with your job. So if you want a logo-carrying item when you're younger to show that you're more bougie, it's much better to have sunglasses or a pin of costume jewelry. That is reasonable. Another rule of glamour is dare to dream and find what's most beautiful. Create a beautiful dream. You will notice this in old Hollywood. Be creative, have fun, create a beautiful dream. The next rule is be aesthetic, so things should be pleasing to the eye. I and most gentlemen will define elegance as this, as reducing material to the eye so that the eye relaxes, but not so much that the eye is bored. The problem is ladies do too much and break that cardinal rule, and they dress too boring, or they dress tutti frutti and way too much color, way too much makeup, right? Or they look like they're at a carnival, or they look like a drag queen, right? Or they look far too sexy and look like a streetwalker. Chill. Have confidence in yourself, okay? And that will stand out. Most young women don't have confidence, and if you do, you will start to have style, right? Once you believe you're enough, your clothing will show it. Another rule of glamour is to wear what suits you. So if there's certain patterns that they're too big for you or too small for you, don't wear that. Another rule of glamour is wear color in your color season. If you don't know, wear neutral, or wear the color people compliment you on the most, which I like to call the jackpot color. And wear clothing for your body type. With glamour, you can add feathers, you can add sparkle, you can add fun, you can add rhinestones on the dress, Swarovski crystals. You can have a lot of fun, but it also has to be appropriate. So don't do sequins during the day. You can love your Swarovski crystals, and they're elegant at night, right? Because that's when they're meant to shine. The last thing, if you notice, in old Hollywood, they have their own version of classy sexy. Now, don't ape it, and that just looks tacky, right? That you're copying 100%. Then you look like you're a costume in Halloween. You have to make everything your own. So notice how Marilyn Monroe's clothing is classy sexy. There is a bit of sexiness to it that emphasizes her feminine curves. Then Audrey Hepburn's clothes, yes, are classy sexy because they emphasize her thinness and her thin waist and thin body, because she's emphasizing that she's skinny, right? And her clothing reflects that and highly emphasizes and highlights her petite waistline. If you see many Slavic influencers, they take old Hollywood glamour into the modern day and in colors that suit them. So there are quite a few rules to glamour, or the affluent masculine interpretation of elegance. But there are far fewer rules than the self-imposed rules of women of TikTok and YouTube trying to be elegant, right? And end up being an Elegantosaurus Rex by trying too hard to be liked and not having fun. True elegance or glamour is about having fun without trying too hard to please other people. One of the top couturiers of my lifetime said that, in one of the top houses, that the ultimate luxury is dressing to please yourself and not having to please anyone. Of course, as you level up, you do have to please others, but it should not be obvious and should not come across as trying too hard. So if you're not trying too hard to be sexy, and you're not trying too hard to be glamorous, you're not trying too hard to be elegant, and you love yourself, you know you're enough, and you do the inner work, outer clothes will follow, and you will be elegant to gentlemen. this took a lot of inner work and courage, right? Look at me now. I'm confident. I am competent. I am happy. I'm abundant. I'm living my dreams, right? And why? Because I have learned that I am enough. And if a group of people don't appreciate me for the value I add, then I find another group. Not everyone is my friend, and not everyone is suitable as a potential suitor. And my husband is the best husband in the entire world, and the most loving, amazing man that I've ever met. If I had doubted myself, I would have dressed like it. I would have dressed like the other girls, and he would have treated me like the other girls. But I had confidence and belief in myself because I was in Miss Universe, and they taught us to be confidently beautiful. At the time, that was their tagline. And I was confident in myself and in my value. So the dress I'm wearing today is very similar to the Desigual pencil dress I wore when I met my husband. Actually, on our first date, that's what I wore. I actually wore a business suit when I met him for a photo shoot. It was a suit dress and it had a little cleavage, but it was tasteful, classy, sexy. And it was a rock climbing photo shoot, and the idea was that my clothing would stand out, right? You know, it's a office siren rock climbing with a laptop. The theme was a workaholic executive. Having a bit of humor, being able to have fun and not take myself so seriously. I stood out from the ocean of pygmies. That's why I had so many options and so many gentlemen chasing me. Confidence will change your life. Your inner work reflects your outer appearance. So please comment below what you found the most interesting. Please like or absolutely hate, share and subscribe. Ciao. And also comment below if you want to see Slavic women's secrets.